this episode of the Sierra Club's Zoom programs. And here we have Lauren Berutich.
Berutich, yes.
Okay. And she's the Associate Director of the Broadness for Wilderness. And by the way, we'll be recording this program tonight. So if you don't want to be recorded, please keep your camera off or put a piece of paper over it. So anyhow, the Great Old Broads, the name alone is reason enough to join, but they're more than just a catchy title. And Lauren is going to tell us about the projects and the programs that they have and do. So go ahead, Lauren.
Okay, I am just thrilled to be here this evening and want to thank you so much for inviting me east to west coast. I love these partnerships, especially the Sierra Club as an organization. As a whole, each chapter has such a significant role in public lands and wilderness protections in your local areas. It takes a huge collective effort, and you all are a part of that. So thanks so much for joining and inviting me into this conversation. We are women in loving defense, or WILD, for public lands, and that will be the essence of our presentation this evening. It was laid out between Lana and I that what I would do is present for about 30 minutes, and then after that presentation, leave a lot of time for question and answer. So I hope that I cover the topics that you were excited about, and again, feel free to interrupt or throw some questions in the chat, and hopefully we get to everything that you're curious about in our time together. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we have some nice visuals and you're not stuck staring at me the whole time. Let's see. All right, so here we go. And it'll just take me a second here. Okay. All right, can you all see my screen okay and hear me okay? Okay, great. All right, so again, thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here. Lana asked that I share a little bit about myself. And so I thought this slide was pretty fun. Again, my name is Lauren. I am the Associate Director for Great Old Broads for Wilderness and have been with this organization going on my 7th year. I first served with the organization as the Grassroots Leadership Director. And from there, I moved on to the Associate Director. And during my time with Broads, I have had the opportunity to train and work directly with our grassroots chapters in grassroots organizing, leadership development, and providing them with the resources and tools to be. Is everyone muted? Can we make sure everybody on the call is muted, please? Oh, that's better. Thank you. Thanks so much. And through that time, I had the opportunity to work directly with our grassroots leadership program volunteers to work in grassroots leadership and development, organizing, and to provide them with any support and resources and tools that each chapter across the country needed to work on the issues they cared about. As I moved into the Associate Director position, I was able to expand my advocacy and put more time and effort into our national efforts, which I look forward to talking to you a little bit about today. And I get to coordinate and write these really cool, hands-on, experiential, multi-day events, which some of the Sierra clubs offer all the time as well. You might be familiar, but ours are called Broad Walks and Broad Works. Not shocking. Before my days with the Broads, I wore many, many, many hats. You'll hear me say this a lot, but I feel like broadness is a state of mind. I've heard a lot, you're too young to be a broad, and maybe I'm still a broad in training, and that is quite an honor. But I feel as if I have connected with the earth and the natural world around me and have never felt so deeply rooted, and unless I am in these natural spaces. And so I really felt like I found my people when I found the Broads. I was advocating for the spotted owl when I was a kid, writing letters. I don't know where that necessarily comes from, but I had a voice for this early, and I've just had a blast finding pathways to use my passions for my career. I taught at Northern Arizona University for 6 years and ran an action research team, student-centered program that connected our students with over 40 community partners in the city to work through and acknowledge sustainable community development needs throughout the city. I also work for the Grand Canyon Trust in the volunteer program and herded lots and lots and lots of passionate volunteers across the Colorado Plateau for 9 to 10 months out of the year for a long time. So I love rolling up my sleeves and getting dirty, and I love giving back in as many ways as I can, whether that's through education as a trained grassroots advocate, or just having fun in the woods with our Broads or some friends. I just think it's such a privilege to be a part of an organization that I just believe in so very much and do the work that I have to do. I live and breathe it. So what an honor to share what the Broads are doing and what we're up to with you all this evening. So today I'll give a brief introduction about who we are and what we do. And this may be a review for some of you, so I won't labor on that too long. And then talk about our 2021 priorities and advocacy campaigns, which of course may look a little different, which is exciting with this transition of our administrative power and focuses on environmental policy and climate action. And then thirdly, of course, with all of the education on campaigns, I think it is just absolutely essential to marry that with what can we do? Every time we educate ourselves, I feel like we don't do the education justice without offering some sort of action. So we'll talk about some trailheads for engagement. And then thirdly, lastly, we all have this room for question and answer. All right, well, who are those great old Broads? Our mission is a national grassroots organization led by women that engages and inspires activism to protect and preserve wilderness and wildlands. And as you see with the pictures I put up here, that comes in many different shapes and sizes and places. This is through stewardship, through fun, through recreation, through our broad walks and works, these events that I'll talk a little bit about later. And of course, through active and engaged activism for wildlands protection. Look, oh my gosh, these ladies. This photo is a picture of our founders a little over 30 years ago now. Senator Orrin Hatch pushed for road development in a wilderness area in Utah. And when he was pushing for this, his reasoning was that wilderness is inaccessible to elders and we should have roads for the aged and infirmed to access these places. And if you can look at these ladies and imagine their love for wild, this really fired them up. And they responded with an A and a B. Their A was, we actually can, thank you, Senator Hatch, we actually can access these places. We are avid hikers and backpackers and mountaineers, and we love the wild places. So please, no roads for us. And the second part was, even if we can't access them, then we have the desire to have them left untouched. And so with that new commitment for this land in wild Utah and many other ecosystems, they started the Great Old Broads for Wilderness with this deep desire and commitment to preserve our last wild places, and realizing that this work would greatly impact future generations. So if you look at the fun we're having here, Broadness again is this state of mind and all people are welcome. Young men, women, just a passion for wilderness and public lands is all we ask. We truly believe that wilderness and public lands are for everybody, and they have to be preserved for future generations. And once these wild places are destroyed, we may just never get them back. And so we roll up our sleeves and we show up. And while we are getting this work done, we always try to bring in humor and fun, and we try not to take ourselves too seriously because we are doing very serious work. So over the past years, we have just grown significantly. We're thrilled to just continue to beef up our staff. We have 9 full-time staff at this time that are all headquartered in Durango, Colorado, which is pretty exciting. We bought a building 2 years ago, and we have a pretty professional office these days. Really exciting to have that resource. We have members in almost every state of the country, and we have this wild team of over 70 trained women volunteers that lead 40 chapters of broadbands across 15 states. For the Sierra Club, this might still seem small because you all are everywhere, but starting just this is just a 10-year-old program for us, and starting with a handful of chapters to now, we're really thrilled to retain our leaders and continue to expand to other parts of the country. We definitely have our work cut out for us, and we definitely had our work cut out for us for the past 4 years, but we have this incredibly talented and dedicated team to do this work. So here on this slide, you'll see that we have a variety of focus areas. And within these focus areas, we are continuously weaving education, advocacy, and stewardship married with grassroots action into every single day of our operations and everything that we do. Keeping wildlands wild and the Wilderness Act intact is a pretty hefty focus area because it includes a lot. It includes all of our public lands and wilderness protections and designation work. It includes our endangered species and habitat protections, wildlife connectivity and corridor work, and of course, just the building climate resiliency on our public lands through maintaining intact, healthy ecosystems. So pretty big focus area. Keeping public lands in public hands is ensuring that our public lands are for all and that they stay in federal management. As you may know, the risk of the transfer to state hands can often threaten the sale of those lands for development and industry, and we just don't want to see that happen. And thirdly, we want to make public lands a part of the solution to climate change, and not the problem. I don't know if you've ever done a comparison of the size of our state and federal lands. If you took all of that, we would be the size of India as a public lands. And if our public lands were also compared or considered a country, we'd rank 6th in the world as the highest emitters of greenhouse gases. So we have a lot of work to do on our public lands to mitigate the climate crisis that's occurring. One of the areas of our work that we're extraordinarily excited about is our climate education and stewardship program. We received a very large grant 2 years ago, and we were able to launch this last year. We wrote a 4-module curriculum series to provide resources and tools to the public to make it easier and more available for the public to connect the dots between public lands and climate change and what's happening. And I encourage any of you that are curious about those resources or what we offer to feel free to get in touch with me anytime. Okay, public lands and wilderness. As you can imagine, Broads are ready to play some offense with our wilderness designation and expansion. Over 4 years, the Trump administration dismantled major climate policies and rolled back many more rules governing clean air, water, wildlife. And in fact, during this time, if you're keeping track, there have been more than 100 rollbacks in environmental rules and protections. This is just been a nightmare. And we never knew what to expect every day. So we've just been working tirelessly to protect bedrock environmental laws and then some. But even with this constant struggle to keep up with these anti-environment antics, Broad's prioritized working on a few huge major lands bills in the last administration, and we're really thrilled to move them forward with this new administration as we look ahead. So I want to talk to you about those. All right, so we are wildly excited to be a part of this huge collaborative global campaign to commit to protecting at least 30% of the world's land and oceans by 2030, also known as the 30 by 30 campaign. Are you all familiar with that campaign at all? Yeah, I figured. So hopefully to contribute towards this, we just want to see rollbacks on the rollbacks, right? I mean, that's just a great start to get us moving in the right direction to meet this pretty lofty goal. Our organizational proposals not only protect important individual natural areas, but they also help increase landscape connectivity and benefit ecosystems and healthy wildlife in each region. And we think that working locally and across the country can really contribute to this huge 30 by 30 campaigning goal. When you look at this slide, I listed 7 of our major priority legislative bills that we have been working on for years. We have been involved in simple things like sign-ons to writing our own comments, to going to DC and lobbying, to throwing week-long events, engaging our members from all over the country on these bills. And we feel like all of the ones listed here and the total of about 3.1 million acres of public lands, wilderness, and scenic and wild river designation and protection will really contribute to the bigger 30 by 30 campaigning goal. Okay, so with the national monument designations, 2017 was tough. If you remember Trump's work with the Department of Interior and Zinke to evaluate any national monuments that were 100,000 acres or larger, was a really tough move by his administration because the result was the reduction of protections by 85% at times. Now, our major focus were on 3 major national monuments, the Bears Ears, Grand Staircase-Escalante, and the Northeast Canyons and Seamount marine monuments. However, if you remember, there were 27 national monuments on the chopping block for being explored and investigated for their value and need for protection. As you know, Bears Ears and Grand Staircase-Escalante were heavily impacted, right? Bears Ears was reduced by 85%, Grand Staircase-Escalante almost in half. And these were some of the largest rollbacks on federal land protections in our country's history. We were devastated by this. The quote you'll see is by the Intertribal Coalition to assure that the Bears Ears area will be managed forever with the greatest environmental sensitivity, where we can be among our ancestors, where we can connect with the land and be healed. We are thrilled to stand in support with the Bears Ears Intertribal Coalition to restore Bears Ears to its fullest monument designation and protections. These rollbacks were a stomp on the Antiquities Act, and they were deemed illegal. So Broad's immediately went into litigation along with many, many, many other environmental organizations and businesses. And then we started connecting as deeply as we could with the Intertribal Coalition on what their needs were, because this was one of the first times that multiple tribes got together to take the lead on the efforts to protect these lands, and we were there to serve as a support. Last night, we were absolutely thrilled to hear that President Biden's new administration directed the Department of Interior to protect these nations' treasures by reviewing the boundaries and the conditions of these 3 national monuments. And so for these to be a priority on our new administration's list is just absolutely awesome. So fingers crossed there. So just for a quick moment, Northeast Canyon Seamount Marine National Monument, which is a mouthful, extra credit at the end if you can say it multiple times as fast as possible. This is a gorgeous picture of what I would equate to basically the underground Grand Canyon of wonders. The Northeast Canyons and Seamounts National Monument covers almost 5,000 square miles and is located southeast of Cape Cod. It's approximately the size of Connecticut. It contains fragile and pristine deep marine ecosystems and hosts rich biodiversity, including deep sea corals, endangered species like whales and sea turtles, and numerous fish species. The Obama this area, we were thrilled to see that. It's the very first and only marine national monument in the Atlantic Ocean. However, in June of 2020, opposition was louder and somehow won in rolling back some of the protections for this national monument. And to this day, the threat of commercial fishing continues to occur in this area. And so this being one of those 3 top priority national monuments is A-okay on Broad's radar, and we look forward to continuing to advocate for the full protection of this national monument as well. So of course, along those same lines of habitat connectivity and biodiversity, Broad's priority on border wall construction and the impacts on wildlife and the environment really took precedence. This painting, this art that you're seeing on the screen was from a member of ours, Barbara Waters, who joined us down in Southeast Arizona when we took a group down on a broad walk, again, an event where we engage the community around a specific campaign. And this was a painting that she shared in response to her experience down there. So, as you may be pretty darn aware, Trump used the Real ID Act to waive 38 laws to rush wall construction. Some of these laws that he waived included the Endangered Species Act, the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, and many laws that protected indigenous cultural sites and graves. This was a really tough trip down to the border because we saw firsthand how he was transitioning foot barriers or traffic barriers into these 30-foot tall steel barred concrete non-permeable barriers, and it was just awful to be down there to see. These barriers went through areas that were protected and mowed down ancient cactus. They were tearing through sacred sites, draining springs, and again, ending wildlife migrations. It has the potential to put 93 endangered species in harm and threat. And these included the jaguar, ocelots, the Mexican gray wolf. I'm not even getting into the details about what we saw with the light and the noise pollution that are down there and how that impacts birds and migratory animals and night species as well. So that being said, my heart goes out to these wild lands. But once again, I think my favorite number is 17 today. Last evening, President Biden's administration signed an executive order. This is one of many environmental executive orders out of his 17 that demanded a halt in the next 7 days to any further wall development on the Mexico-US border. And Broads feel very strongly to join forces and continue to partner with some awesome organizations, including one of our major partners is the Sierra Club and Center for Biological Diversity, to stand in our belief that we not only want to see this paused, but permanently stopped, and that the concrete walls come back down so that our wildlife and our communities can once again thrive in a new way. So Vice President Kamala Harris said something really beautiful in her speech last night. Even in dark times, we not only dream, but we do. We not only see what has been, but we see what can be. And I feel as if when we swim upstream, when we work as hard as we can to share basic human needs in regards to environmental concerns like clean air, clean water, wild open spaces for future generations, it's hard to just have that as a dream, have that as a vision. We take action to make sure that it happens. We know that there have been dark times, but we know what we can do in the future. And so I thought that that was such a beautiful introduction, talking about, well, what can we do? What are these trailheads of engagement? Community education. As you know, community education is such a huge part of not only staying updated yourself, but bringing others up to speed on what's happening in your backyards. I mean, I meet people all the time that are passionate and love the outdoors, but just not really sure where to start as far as how to connect with a campaign or how to connect with an issue. So providing spaces for folks to dive into their curiosities, to explore what's going on, to understand or better understand current events, to have the opportunities to understand why this work is so very important. So our Broads have hosted advocacy events and opportunities to talk about all these different issues, and they've done it tirelessly online. And that is not easy, as you know, as you sit in front of your screen tonight. And then in person, they've held live events like Science on Tap, where they've had a presenter come and present science and research and share really interesting and fun facts about the wild world out there over a beer, or hosted Zoom webinars or panels or films and lectures. But there are multiple ways to keep our communities engaged and educated. Fence building, planting trees, monitoring rivers, bird counts, doing trail maintenance, building exclosures, enclosures. We know how important stewardship is to not only giving back to the land, but deeply connecting with it. Of course, legislative actions and policy is extremely important. This can come through in lobby days, participating in public comments, writing letters or hosting letter writing parties, attending or speaking at public hearings. If you're a part of an organization and you're able to litigate at times, that's an avenue for impacting public lands legislation and management. And of course, when we start talking about power building, This is near and dear to my heart because we see the value and the impact this has every single day. Telling your stories, participating locally, meeting with your state and local decision makers. Everybody has a voice. You can learn these tools to be effective change makers with training, with practice, and with bringing others along with you. What does this look like when you take your backyard issues and you turn them into DC advocacy? Influencing your state and federal decision makers is one of the most powerful ways to engage in political and grassroots action. And Broads has hosted a variety of DC trips and look forward to another one this November that's open to the public. And I think, was it Emily that said that she heard of Broads through a lobbying trip with SUA? Yeah.
Yes.
So I was supposed to go on one of those trips and broke my leg. And so actually, Emily, I wonder if you're in this picture on the right, if that happens to be the year that you joined them and lobbied.
I have no idea. We certainly took a picture like that.
That would be really fun if you were
Yeah.
in there.
I certainly recognize some people in the front, but it's kind of small.
Yeah. Yeah.
My roommate was an old broad, Chris Kosowski.
Yes, Chris is in this picture.
Okay, well then maybe it was the year I was there. If she's in that picture, we were roommates.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, that is a fun small world connection. I absolutely love that. So as you know, when you get involved in this type of activism, you need to start at home, exploring issues that mean something close to you, finding out what your communities need and showing up to meet their needs, becoming familiar with the ins and the outs of the campaign. What are the pros? What are the cons? Why is there opposition? And where is it coming from? And then you take all of that and you train and you think about what is the science and the research and the legislative talking points behind an act or a bill or a campaign, and familiarize yourself with that. Practice and become familiar with the talking points and work in teams. And then thirdly, make those appointments and get involved with your lawmakers. As a constituent, it is really important for them to hear from you, both thanking them, or urging them to take action in a specific way. So here are those broad walks and broad works I keep talking about and mentioning. These are 3 to 5 day events that we offer throughout the year in absolutely gorgeous places that need our attention and voices for protection or expansion. This picture was taken in the Redwoods in California. And this particular broad walk was so popular, we ended up having to host 2 of them back to back. It was amazing how many people were interested in engaging in this campaign and getting out into that gorgeous part of our country. Joining these broad walks guarantees beautiful stars, unless it's raining, but beautiful skies, exploring gorgeous and wild ecosystems, definitely meeting new lifelong friends, and learning from experts and presenters and guided hikes and facilitated walks, important public land campaign issues. If you need more of an enticing sell here, the food is usually awesome. Our stewardship projects are a blast, and our happy hours are always really, really nice. So have a look at this list. We will be going live in public with our registration on February 15th, which is actually Monday and a holiday. So just an FYI there. So I love this now that you've gone abroad. Stick with me here. There are many ways to get involved. One of them is continue to partner with us. The Sierra Club chapters across the country have been so important as strong voices and a strong organization and people who show up. And so I look forward to continuing to brainstorm multiple ways to continue to partner with the Broads. If you are looking to do this in your backyards in Pennsylvania, and some of you are in Colorado, let's find each other. Let's find a way to do that. Join us as a member. As you know, as members of the Sierra Club, this is absolutely essential for an organization to run. It also keeps us in communication on important issues, action alerts, and events that are coming up. If you want to wear multiple hats, start or join a broadband in your area. Sign up for one of these events and learn more about us. Tell a friend, please, and become a woman for the wild. This is a comprehensive campaign effort that we're launching. If you are interested in any of these items, please go to our website and to learn a bunch more. And thank you so much. Again, my name is Lauren. I'm the Associate Director with Great Old Broads for Wilderness, and I look forward to taking some questions from you. And I'll stop my screen to do that, I think. Let's see. Okay.
So you said there's chapters in 15 states. Is that mostly in the West, in the mountain? What states are they? Can you rattle them off?
Oh, Gary, that's a great question. I can't rattle all 15 states off. I can tell you that they, I'm going to try California, Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, through Idaho and Montana, and then the Four Corners Southwest region, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona for sure. And then as we go east, Minnesota, and then let's start going south into Georgia. This is great, Gary. Who put you up to this? Then we're in Georgia, New York, New Hampshire, Maine. Did I say Minnesota?
Nope.
And we're growing.
Thanks. That's a good answer.
Hi, this is Caroline. I apologize for being late. My daughter called and I lost track of time. For these trips that you have planned, are you doing COVID precautions? Are you planning them at this point?
That's a great question. And this is when I wish I could whip out my ball, what do they call that? Your
Crystal
glass ball, crystal ball, to see the future. And we are a lot more hopeful than we were when we had to absolutely cancel and postpone our trips from last year. Our first trip, I'm not sure if you saw, Caroline, on that sheet that I shared, but is at the very end of June into July. So we are asking for mandatory vaccines to attend our trips in the hopes that that creates a safer environment, and we'll hope to continue with masks when necessary. We will just uphold every national and then state level COVID mandates that are ahead of us. We also are asking 6 to 8 weeks for some flexibility if we absolutely have to cancel. We just don't know. But yeah, we are moving forward with starting to recruit and register come early February for these events. Fingers crossed.
Lauren, you have an excellent website that has so much information on. And last year when you had the auction, you had some incredible items for people to bid on. Just absolutely incredible. So if you tell them what the date of the auction would be, and also the other thing I'd be interested in is the climate resources that you had talked about.
Great. Oh my gosh, Lana and I didn't even set ourselves up for this, but we do have this incredible fundraiser that we call the Women for the Wild online auction. And it's this super fun online bidding auction that this time we're actually hosting in April. So way early in honor of Earth Week. And we will have maybe some trips for the next year offered on there, outdoor gear, packs, classes, maybe some art and jewelry, really fun items on that. And of course, that's open to anybody and everybody. So get on there and win some fun adventures. That's great. Thank you for that. And then the second question was about our climate education and stewardship materials.
Right.
So we, at this time, we offer those to our broadband leaders as a training, and then they have those resources to then present out. But we also have a very dedicated and passionate staff that are trained on those materials and can offer presentations. So we wrote 4 different modules. One is the basics, and that's public lands and climate change 101. We offer a 30-minute presentation and then lots of activities if you wanted it to just be an hour, or if you wanted it to be a half day engaging with breakout sessions and a variety of activities and icebreakers and thought activities. We can do that as well. That's for all of these modules. The second module, let's see, public lands and climate change 101. Then we have climate change and rivers. The third one is climate change and forests, and the fourth one are climate change and coasts. The grant was given to us with the idea that we started in the Northwest. And so a lot of our materials right now are written for the Northwest region and ecosystem, but they are easily adaptable to other areas of the country, especially if we have a little bit of time to do so, and we're thrilled to do that.
Yeah, Lana was asking about what I was going to ask about your climate change materials. Are they suitable to use in schools?
Absolutely. Yeah, the information,
like elementary, high school, about what level?
So I would say high school is ideal and middle school is totally doable, because everything is also adaptable to whatever audience and need we would have.
Well, one of the Otzinachson members, who I believe is not on tonight, Richard Son, was interested. He sees this as a problem that in Pennsylvania, climate change is not being taught at the high school level. And Carolyn found out that last year a bill existed in our legislature, actually made it out of committee, but it's dead now because the year's over. And is there anything that in the meantime, who knows how long it's going to take the legislator to the bill is, remind me, I think it's to mandate that climate change gets taught in school. Is that
science? Yeah, that's it. The science-based climate change.
Right. So in the meantime, is there anything that you could just send us and maybe we could help move along? High school sounds really good, and possibly help facilitate this at certain local level. This is a big area that Otzinachson covers. So it might make a difference. Or is that something you have to ask your supervisors and so forth, if that's possible to do that?
That's a great question. So as far as the CES work goes, I'm lucky to be the supervisor for that. So, so I have to double check with myself. No, as the associate director, I'm just playing. I'm playing. My boss is the executive director, Shelley Silber, of our entire organization, and she has been just an absolutely essential part of the growth of our climate work and this program. So I would absolutely want to run this by her, and also we formed a program advisory team who we work with to actually brainstorm opportunities like this. What is our capacity? Can we seek funding to support it? Because we don't actually have like a broadband chapter there to get this out. And then what does it look like? How do we play this out? And so that's the complicated answer. The simple answer, because I can't help myself as an educator as well, I would definitely just want to say yes. I mean, the answer is yes, right? Of course, we can work together to figure something out. The other thing just to address with that is we know that capacity across the board and funding are always challenging. They're challenging for public education, they're challenging for teachers, they're challenging for nonprofits, they're challenging for businesses. I mean, we all only have a specific level that we can work within, you know, before we run thin. And I definitely know that's true for teachers. And so to be able to train and provide the resources and here's your package, now you get to just go and run with it program, where there's not a tremendous amount of work on their side of things, except for just prepping, makes me and our organization really happy to pay it forward in that way. Any other questions from the group?
Looks like not. Well, I want to thank you very much, Lauren. And the proclamations for the monuments, reading them, it just makes them sound so magical. The Sierra Club has a trip to Grand Staircase. And also their trips, if you're between 20 and 30, you get $300 off the cost of the trip. So, but anyhow, so if we have kids or grandkids that want to go on a trip, why, we can save a little money now. But anyhow, Lily, I'd like us to try and post a link to the website of those proclamations, because they are just an amazing thing to read. And that's it. I had written down about the auction. So yeah, we live along a river, so the climate change and the river should certainly be of interest. Thank you again so very much, Lauren. It was so nice meeting you. And how did you like spending the day with all these people with Eastern accents?
Oh, it just made me feel right at home. I'm so homesick. Oh my goodness. Go outside and hug an Eastern tree for me, please. What an honor. Thanks. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed meeting you all and talking, and just, I always love leaving with gratitudes for your voices and your work and your decades and days. If you're new to this work, thank you. Thank you so very much for being a part of the change. Thanks.
Okay.